SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
Tired of your old tractor crying when it sees a hill? Or coughing more than Uncle Earl in pollen season? Trade up now at Sid's Trading Company. Coyote and TYM tractors so mean, they'd plow a cornfield in reverse. Uphill. Get her did at Sid's. SidsTrading.com.
This is Gerard Gibert, and thank you for listening to MidDays here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
MidDays with Gerard Gibert is on the air. MidDays with Gerard Gibert is powered by C-Spire. Power your home or business with C-Spire Fiber. To learn more, visit supertalk.fm/C-Spire. C-Spire Fiber powers SuperTalk Mississippi. Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to MidDays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Good morning on a Tuesday. Welcome to MidDays. Dave Hughes in the seat this week. Rhino in the booth as always. How you doing this morning, man?
Howdy.
How's life treating you today?
Oh, not too terribly bad. We're not on a Monday, so it's always got that going for us.
Yeah, that's an immediate improvement on life when it's no longer Monday on the calendar. It just improves everything, it feels like. We got a lot of stuff to talk about today because it keeps getting stupid, but I'm going to start with something totally off the beaten path with President Trump. You know, everybody talks about his policy, talks about what he's doing for the economy and immigration and crime. I admire the guy's sarcastic sense of humor. I'm sorry, it's on full display. This morning on Truth Social, President Trump posted, and I'm going to read it exactly as he wrote it. I'm not going to shout at the parts that he put in all caps, but exactly as he wrote it. Great nominees for the Trump/Kennedy Center. Kennedy Center Awards. They will be announced Wednesday. He's making fun of everything, basically. And I love that. I absolutely love it because we have been all serious for so long. It's nice to have a guy in the White House that gets that it's not all serious doom and gloom 24/7, 365. He can have fun with the things they're trying to attack him with. He's like, oh yeah, you think so? Watch this. And then he comes out with something like that. So I love it. What's your guess? Who's getting nominated for a Kennedy Center Award?
Maybe. I can't remember the guy's real name, and I'm tired of saying his nickname. The guy from Doge that got carjacked.
Oh,
that would
yeah.
be a funny one.
Yeah, that would be perfect. I'm betting on somebody like, I don't know, Charlie Kirk. It's going to be someone. Yeah, I know. I'm right there with you. But it's going to be someone that is going to make liberal heads explode when they hear the announcement. You're going to hear the detonations all over the country. Boom. When they announce who it is. Why not at this point, considering what's happened in the last month or two? What about Sydney Sweeney? I mean, a lot of the Kennedy Center honors go to entertainers.
Yeah.
She is an entertainer. Why not? Something that is going to just completely stir the pot is what's going to happen. That's my bet. I'm sticking with it. The inflation numbers came out. Have you seen any of the national media since the inflation numbers came out? Their poor little heads are also going to explode. CNN had a meltdown this morning because the inflation numbers, not much change, maybe just a hair up. This is the third month after they started explaining that tariffs were going to drive inflation through the roof. And once again, for the third month, we're being told next month is the pivotal month. Next month is the month that this is really going to hit us hard. CNN, on their little report on this, put the graphic up, said that shelter prices in the CPI report for July, shelter prices were up 0.2%. Food was flat. Grocery prices, 0% inflation. Energy was down 1.1%. And they're trying to explain it away that, well, you got to understand some of the things like energy going down like that because gas prices fell. Well, that's offsetting some of the rises in other places. And this is still shut up. Let's go back a few words to where you said gas prices are down. Oh, we can't focus on that. So for an unbroken string of months now, the tariffs are about to kill us all. You're going to be eating saltine crackers, one per day. That's all you'll be able to afford. It's going to be so bad. Oh, wait, no, it's actually fine. Well, next month, this one. This is the nonstop ongoing grift of the left, isn't it?
Oh, but I was looking forward to all the Instagram and TikTok videos of people showing how it's cool to put peanut butter on the saltine and eat it. It's like, yeah, that is a tasty snack. I don't know why you think it's boutique.
That's the time-honored snack, isn't it? Come on. But that's not going to change. None of this is going to change, ever. Because you have to remember, this is the same group that has been telling us for my entire life, going back to the 60s, that we are 10 years away from the polar ice caps disappearing, the glaciers going away, and the coastlines being underwater. We've been 10 years away from that for 50, 60, 70 years. And every time we reach a new 10-year milestone, we told you 10 years ago is true. We're just 10 years away. Keep moving that goalpost down the road. Now they're doing the same thing. It's the same exact process with inflation numbers and the tariffs. Every month, next month is the bad month. It's going to be horrible. And the next month rolls around and it's fine. And they say, well, yeah, but like we told you last month, next month is going to be the bad month.
And remember, a lot of these people are still in place that were saying the inflation was transitory.
Yes. Let me tell you how far back this mindset goes with some of these people. The Associated Press, December 29th, 1923, 102 years ago. The headline was Glacier Park melting at a rapid rate in scientists' opinion. The hot, dry seasons of the past few years have caused rapid disintegration of glaciers in Glacier National Park, Montana. And it goes through, if this rapid retreat should continue, the professor added, the glacier would almost disappear in another 25 years. This was 102 years ago. They were selling their fear-mongering nonsense. And it still hasn't happened. This is not recent. This is not new. And none of this is a pressing catastrophe curve. The inflation with the tariffs, compare inflation now to a year ago. You can't then claim, well, everything's horrible now. No, have a seat, boo-boo. We're not interested. There's only one way to break that cycle of them leaning into this, Rhino, and I suspect you know what it is, just like I do. Quit paying attention to them.
Yeah, you just got to ignore them.
When it stops
Treat them
working.
like the people with the sandwich board on the street corner screaming, the end is nigh!
Yes. My favorite is every once in a while you'll see somebody like that and nigh is misspelled. That's my favorite part. But the problem is Everyone is so focused on doom and gloom culture 24/7. Everyone lives their life based off of what they're mad about or scared of. That's why it works.
That's why true crime is huge.
Oh, man, it's enormous. Did you know, and it's across all ages, in the 20-something age range, you know what the most popular network is? ID. Which is wall-to-wall true crime stories. That's the most popular not broadcast, but television channel, whatever we want to call it this week, among people in their 20s. ID. Especially females in their 20s. Yeah, but did anybody die though? That's what I really care about. And we wonder why the birth rate is plummeting. When we come back, they're looking for murder, of course. Everybody's staying home and playing Xbox. We will continue. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Casey Dixon's going to join us with an update from Mississippi Blood Services. We'll talk about how things are going for them. Here's a hint. They need your corpuscles. We'll talk about that at the bottom of the hour. More next. Keep it here.
The One Body Show.
This segment of Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
We're rolling. Middays with Gerard Gibert. What? This is so awesome. On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Uncle Phil. No, not that one. Phil Collins. With, I think, some good life advice. We need some of that to filter into day-to-day life. It goes back to what we were talking about in the first segment, Rhino. You cannot be concerned, worried, and fearful 24/7. It doesn't work because things are always going to change. We're getting proof of that right now. The National Guard deploying in Washington, D.C. this morning currently, and I'd love to be a fly on the wall here. Pam Bondi is in a meeting with D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser to discuss the takeover. Kash Patel is there. The police chief, who, I'm sorry, have you seen the police chief of Washington, D.C.? When we discuss DEI hires, they should put her on the poster.
Wasn't that her foot in the door? Literally?
Much, yeah.
Like, wasn't she hired as DEI director and then moved up?
Yep. She was a literal DEI hire. That was her title, her first job. So now they're moving in, they're taking things over. They're going to fix the crime problem as best they can in 30 days. You know as well as I do, nothing is fixable in 30 days. But at the end of 30 days, you've got to get Congress to approve a longer federal takeover of Washington, D.C., according to the Home Rule Act. But that's a month down the road. That's a September problem. We'll deal with that next month.
I haven't dug into the text of the Home Rule Act. Surely there's not a workaround where it's like, all right, guys, we're leaving on Sunday. We'll be back on Monday.
You know, that's a good question.
Start the clock again.
I did read through the relevant portion, Section 740. It didn't mention any kind of time limit between 30-day periods or if there could be more than one. That's a very good point. That's a very good point I hadn't thought about. But did you hear what, and I love this. I love the Trump derangement syndrome and what it's doing to liberal minds, because they are currently protesting and raising heck about lowering crime and murder rates in Washington, D.C. Overnight, by the way, they had their 100th homicide of the year in Washington, D.C. You won't find any mention of that, by the way, on NBC, ABC, any of the major news outlets. Washington Post has it. I'll give them full credit. They've got a full, long write-up on it. So fair play to them. But you have to go looking for the coverage of that because it doesn't look good. It really kind of backs up President Trump's point. The latest move, the Free DC Project. Did you see their idea of a protest?
Oh, yeah. That was the audio we played yesterday. It was from one of the speeches they had.
Oh, no. They've organized a grassroots protest now. They put this out yesterday. I'm going to read the notice they put out. Starting tonight, get loud. Silence is compliance, so we need to get loud. Starting tonight and every night of this occupation, go outside at 8 p.m. and bang pots and pans. Sing, chant, or make noise for 5 minutes. They are literally telling the people of Washington, D.C. to walk out their front door, you know where all the crime is, and bang pots and pans and draw attention to themselves. This is going to go great. It then goes on to say, when your neighbors come out and ask what's going on, they're not going to come out and ask what's going on. They're going to come out and tell you to knock that nonsense off. And then we're going to lead to police calls there because there will be fights. Says, but when your neighbors come out and ask what's going on, talk with them about what's happening. Post your noise making to social media. Invite friends to come and join you. I have seen some stupid protests. I've heard of stupid protests and stupid movements and stupid action items. We talked about one yesterday with the group of old white people putting themselves in a makeshift cage in a median down in Florida to protest alligator Alcatraz. This one's got to take the cake, doesn't it? So the president says he's bringing the military in to deal with the crime problem. Had someone shot and killed last night on the streets of Washington, D.C. after President Trump made the announcement, backing up exactly what he's talking about. And their idea of a protest is to go outside and attract as much attention to yourself as possible as soon as it gets dark. What are the odds this isn't going to end like they think it's going to end, Rhino?
Well, considering they are hoping and praying for a drone shot of D.C. with a cacophony of pots and pans being banged so that they can put it on social media, I don't think they're going to get their wish.
No, not at all. They were, ABC now, having said that, ABC, they were on television. We're doing a thing yesterday, and they had some experts in, and they were talking about this, and someone made the comment, said, crime is down. Crime is, the talking point that we're getting from everywhere.
Oh, you mean the fudge data?
Yes. That we've already got one guy that was placed on paid leave, the commander of the D.C. Police Department, who was placed on paid leave in mid-May because he was massaging the numbers to make felonies become misdemeanors in the paperwork. Well, of course crime went down. You changed it. But they were making that claim, and the host of the interview on ABC, the ABC anchor, said, quote, here in downtown D.C. where we work, right here around our bureau, just in the past 6 months, there were 2 people shot literally 2 blocks away. I actually was jumped walking just 2 blocks down from here. This morning, my coworker's car was stolen. So when you reach the point where the mainstream media is pushing back and going, no, wait a minute, there is definitely a problem here. You can't hand wave it away. What else do you have left? My question is, out of all of this, I mean, the best idea they've got, ironically enough, the best bullet they can come up with to load into their gun of social voice is to go outside after it gets dark and bang pots and pans. Somebody's going to come mug you and steal the pots and pans, by the way. That's the whole reason why the military is being brought in. That's their best idea. What is it going to take for Democrats to turn this around and become, well, we'll set the bar low, relevant again? Because right now they're not at all. What's it going to take?
It's going to take somebody that we've likely heard little to nothing about deciding to become the face of the party, because there's no one within the current leadership or the stable of recognizable faces and names that have any real pull to the mass populace.
That's because they have every last one of them, spent so much time saying whatever fool thing came to mind that they thought would appease that 5% of their party that's so far out to the left, they're dangling off the edge of the earth, that no one with any sense listens to them anymore. And they don't understand that. That's what's interesting. And then you've got the mainstream media leaning into that and continuing to push those voices. I think you're exactly right. It's going to take someone who hasn't made a fool of themselves. And right now they've got nobody. Who are you going to hang your hopes on for the future of the Democratic Party? Representative Jasmine Low Smoke Alarm Battery Crockett? They never did find out who was playing that noise. Not that I heard anyway. I keep looking for it. Every time she would speak in committee meetings in the House, somebody would play a recording, play the sound of a smoke alarm giving the low battery beep. It's not going to change anytime soon. I can tell you that right now. It's just not going to happen. When we come back, Casey Dixon joins us from Mississippi Blood Services. We're talking about blood and saving lives next in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays. Keep it here.
From the scene.
Attention, adoring fans! It's time for
Middays with Gerard Gibert on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back to the Element Wealth Studios, SuperTalk, Mississippi, Middays. Dave Hughes here, and joining us in the studio in the big chair. Get comfortable. It's a comfy chair, Casey. Casey Dixon.
It really is a very nice, comfy chair.
Casey Dixon with Mississippi Blood Services joins us. How are you doing today?
This morning, doing really good. It's not as hot out there just yet. I'm sure it's getting there.
You know, I was talking to my wife yesterday, and she brought up, she said, is it just me, or does it feel like really overall it hasn't been as hot this summer?
I would agree to that. There's been a couple of days here and there, maybe a week, that it's been ridiculously hot. But for the most part, it hasn't been terrible. But
no,
that doesn't
really
mean
hasn't.
It's not coming.
You know what that means? If you're not dealing with that, if you don't have the heat-related stress and everything else, it's a perfect opportunity to go and give blood.
That's a perfect opportunity to do it, yes.
Yeah, exactly. So how are things going at Mississippi Blood Services?
Well, right now, Mississippi Blood Services is experiencing the same type of reduction in donations as the rest of the United States. During the summertime, donations are typically down. And that's because a lot of people get out and do a lot of traveling for the summer and visiting families and vacations. So when that happens, a lot of the donations or our normal donors don't have the opportunity to come in as frequently as they normally do.
And that's a tough hill to climb for you, isn't it?
It really is. And luckily, we have a lot of loyal donors around our area that take the time to kind of coordinate all of their travels around their donation time so they can come in and donate and help those patients in Mississippi.
And that is fantastic because we talk about it all the time, but it always bears repeating. If you give 1 pint of blood, you're saving up to 3 lives, right?
That's correct, up to 3 lives. And another statistic that's interesting is, you know, we've had a lot of shootings go around lately, but we've also had a lot of wrecks this summer. And a lot of times, those individuals could use up to 50 units of blood.
Wow.
During one of those surgeries. Again, depending on the severity of the situation, but that is a possibility.
Wow, that's a lot.
A lot of blood.
That really underlines just how important it is to get every single pint donated that you can, because it's literally, in that case, you can't wait and hope somebody comes in tomorrow if you've just had a bad car accident and they need surgery now.
Exactly. And that's why it's so crucial that during the summer, as well as going into the fall season, we like to keep our shelves fairly full. Those situations can happen in a drop of a hat, and having the supply available where we can get that to the hospitals as quickly as we can is exactly what we need to be able to do.
Well, especially when you consider, I realize everybody looks at the summertime months as the big travel months when most people are on the road. The problem with that theory to me is we're about to start the period where everyone's out going back and forth to school and football games. And then immediately after that, you have the holidays coming up. We're about to hit, to me, almost a busier time of year for people on the road than the summer in some ways.
That is true. But fortunately, a lot of our schools participate in a grant program that we have available. This grant program is one where they host X amount of drives per school year and collect X amount of units during that school year. But it's also an opportunity for us to get in front of the young people to help educate them on the importance of donating. We also provide different types of opportunities for us to come in and help determine what their blood type is by doing a blood typing event. And a lot of our schools really appreciate that from the standpoint of letting the students know how important it is to donate regularly, but also what gift they have available to give, meaning if their blood type is really critical for platelet donors, or if they are the universal donor. Those types of information, and students, probably juniors and seniors, a lot of them don't know that information. And so being able to communicate and share that with them is very, very crucial at this age.
Well, and I know a lot of adults that don't know what their blood type is.
That's true, too.
That's just kind of the way it is. It's one of those facts that kind of slides through the cracks for a lot of people. You mentioned blood types, though. What are some of the big ones for the folks that do know what their blood type is, to impress on them how important it is, especially for them, everybody, of course, but for them especially? What are the big blood types that you're always looking for?
We're always looking for O's, whether they're negative or positive, as well as B's, negative and positive. So those two elements, while they are universal donor and one of the most critical elements, having those on the shelves as often as possible, we can absolutely supply those to the hospitals. Going back to what you just said, as far as individuals not knowing their blood type, if they go into the hospital because of whatever situation, whether it's an accident, childbirth, whatever, if they don't know it, the doctors don't know it. So having that universal available to go ahead and supply the blood when necessary is absolutely critical.
And that's another great reason you really underscored why it's kind of important to know what your blood type is.
It's very helpful, yes.
Yeah, that could come in handy if suddenly somebody is asking you in a critical situation, what's your blood type? I don't know is not really what you want to say. And the best part is, if you don't know your blood type, you don't know what it is, you've just never found out, I'm willing to bet that if you go give blood, you can probably find out, can't you?
You can. Once you give blood, there's some testing that goes along with it to determine what that type is. But as soon as that's finished, we'll be able to provide it to you right there.
So you can save up to 3 lives, you can make life easier for a lot of people, and you can get some information that might be critical to your own health care one day.
That's true. Very true.
That's a triple win, Casey. I don't know what else we could ask for.
Well, another opportunity is looking at those businesses or someone in the church community or groups throughout the area that are not close to one of our collection centers, being able to step up and ask for us to come to them and collect blood in their area. Because a lot of the donors are not necessarily right around the street from a collection center. So we like to have our mobile drives. We usually have somewhere between 4 to 10, depending on the day, available out in the community to make it more convenient for the donors to come there versus having to travel a further distance to the center.
Now, if you have a business or you have a church or a church group that is interested in hosting the mobile drives, about how much advance notice do you need? They contact you and say, hey, we want you to come over. Can you be here in an hour? That's not going to work.
It's not going to work that quickly, no.
No.
But we do like to have, we have the ability to turn it around fairly quickly, depending on what's going on, especially if a business is connected to an individual that we mentioned that is in need of blood because of a particular situation. There are opportunities where we can adjust schedules so we can accommodate those. But if you're looking at a general business that wants to just host it for the benefit of their employees as well as the community, we love to have at least a 2-week notice, if not more. That way we can make sure that the schedule is accommodating to what they need and when they want it. And the good thing is we help them by providing a lot of the external marketing pieces. We communicate to our donors through emails and texts, and then we also provide them some materials on site to help advertise it locally.
So you do a lot of the heavy lifting for this.
We try really hard. We want to make it as convenient for the donors as well as the businesses participating.
Well, I have to say, it's a lot of work. I don't know how you keep all the moving pieces straight in this whole thing, because it's a lot of stuff to keep track of, Casey, but you're doing a fantastic job of it. You really are.
Thank you. The team back at Mississippi Blood Services is amazing. It goes down from the individuals that help us with the cleaning all the way up to the coordination of the drives, down to the individuals who are actually collecting the blood, whether it's in the centers or on the mobiles, as well as the donors. We couldn't do this without the donors.
Before we run out of time, I just got to ask, on average, how many vampire jokes do you get a day?
Fortunately, I don't get a lot, but the average one is 1 or 2. But as we're going into Halloween, they're going to increase.
Well, that's a good one. Do you do Halloween-themed drives?
We try. We have a couple of our groups that have done it historically, and they come up with a costume, and all the donors come out and do donations in costumes. And then we like to be able to do stuff at the center as well to help support the holiday.
Whatever you have to do to save lives, and that's what they're doing at Mississippi Blood Services. Keep up the good work. I don't know if you have a number off the top of your head. If there is a business or a church or someone that's listening to this and going, hey, we could have them over here, maybe we could help out, how do they get a hold of you?
The easiest way is go straight to our website at msblood.com. We have a form on there for requesting to host a drive, so they can do it, and that's the easiest way. It comes right to us.
So just go to the website, give it to them one more time.
msblood.com.
msblood.com, and then you can help save. Actually, if you put together and host a blood drive, you can save a bunch of lives.
That is right, a bunch of lives. That's right. Or
a bunch
school.
of lives.
Even if some of the schools want to take part in some of this, they can do that as well.
Yes, it's a fantastic idea. There are no wrong people to host a blood drive.
No, not at all.
There's no wrong group out there. Take the word of your favorite vampire. There's your one for today. Now it's off the table,
all
Casey.
Right,
On November 4th.
Come on.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
All right, we are back
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Welcome back to the Element Wealth Studios, SuperTalk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes here on Middays. Thanks to Casey for stopping by. I always love to hear from them because they do such important work. They really do. So reach out to them if you could help out by hosting a blood drive, because every single pint you bring in is going to make an enormous difference in potentially a lot of lives. So it's well worth the time. I don't know if you heard, they just sentenced a 17-year-old in Canton to 15 years. Got the maximum sentence. He was sentenced yesterday. What he did, and there was surveillance video of this, so it was not really a very hard-fought case. You can't argue with the video. He went up to another 17-year-old, flashed a gun, and made him take his shoes off and stole them. So he got 15 years. I've already seen a couple of comments from people saying, well, that's inappropriate. He's just a mixed-up kid. This is a big part of our problem right now, if you ask me. A criminal is a criminal. And we seem to have a problem when they're not 18 years old of treating them as a criminal. Now, was that a severely violent crime? No. Did he beat him up? No. Did flash a gun. But we have to get a lot closer to a zero tolerance attitude towards crime before anything changes. We have crime problems all over the country. Washington is the focus this week because of President Trump and what he's doing, but it's all over the country, everywhere. And I think a lot of it is hand-waving some of it away because, well, he's only 16 or she's a 15-year-old. We can't treat them like an adult. Well, they were acting like an adult criminal. So I think we have to change our perception and change our approach to this. And that's a good first step because there are some people that are upset saying 15 years is far too long of a sentence for that poor. He'll be 32 when he gets out if he serves the full 15 years, which is questionable. You and I both know that. And that's just too much of his life to throw away. Well, there was only one person that threw that 15 years away, and it was him. And until you have severe penalties for crime, it's not going to change. It's not going to drop. We have talked about this forever. It does, however, bring up another problem because with the amount of crime we have right now, where are you going to put them? Right now, I don't know if you've looked at the jail populations. We're not exactly swimming in empty beds in our prison system in Mississippi.
Or that's the other problem. The other side of the coin is you have a lot of these prison advocates, a lot of these nonprofits that are working to get people out of prison on the smallest of technicalities, and then those people go on to commit more crimes.
A great example of that. Livingston Parish, Louisiana, just across the state line down in Louisiana, down here in my neck of the woods. 42-year-old woman, Lisa Cleaver, was released from jail. Within 2 hours of being released from jail, she was back in jail. This is how ridiculous it was. They released her from jail. She walked outside and tried to break into an unmarked police car to steal it. Couldn't get in. And then walked down, got on the road, Highway 63, and actually stole a Department of Public Works truck from someone and drove off, and they caught her and took her right back to jail. Compassion takes many forms. We're focused on the wrong end of that stick. The compassion does not need to go to the extreme that it has for quite a while toward the law breakers. The people who are victimized, yes, all the compassion in the world. Minding your own business, going about your lawful activities, not bothering anybody. and someone comes up and does something, well, you didn't bring that on yourself. We have got to turn that around. And I don't know how we do that. I don't know how we get this out of our head that, well, yeah, they may have stolen this, or they may have destroyed that, or they may have shot someone, but really they're a good person at heart. Gonna need a little more than just your word on that. But you're right. You've got these advocates that are, in my opinion, making crime worse by their activities. We have lost the ability to tell people to sit down and shut up. It's part of our problem. Coming up after the top of the hour, we've got Fox News. We've got SuperTalk Mississippi News. And then we've got a tropical system out of the Atlantic, which means it's time to visit with our old buddy, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Cross with the Hurricane Hunter Reconnaissance Squadron. We'll do that next here on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Your Middays with Gerard Gibert is brought to you by the Mississippi Business Journal. Visit msbusinessjournal.com. Scott Coopwood, publisher and president.
Welcome to the show that challenges you to think deeply, and look beyond political posturing. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Hour number 2 of Middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Dave Hughes here. And now, with tropical whatever it is this minute airing out in the Atlantic, it's the perfect time to talk to the man who can give us a factual account of whether or not you need to go buy your bread, milk, and toilet paper now, or you can wait a minute. With the 53rd Weather Reconnaissance Squadron, colloquially called the Hurricane Hunter Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Sean Cross. Good to talk to you again, Colonel. How you doing?
I'm good, Dave. It's been a while since we've chatted, so it's always good to catch up with you.
Definitely. So, we've been kind of lucky the last few years, hurricane-wise, haven't we?
You had to say it.
I know. It's on me when it falls apart. I get it.
Yeah. We've been doing really well. Other parts of the country not so great. Obviously, what hit Florida and then went up into the Carolinas, a couple of years ago. Golly, what a mess up there. And, I feel for everybody, but, you opened up with a really good comment about, is it time to go out and buy the milk and the bread and all that stuff? This long-range forecasting is still a ways out there. I've actually got the forecasted track of Aaron up in front of me. It's looking like, major hurricane over the Bahamas there. I'm sorry, not the Bahamas, but, just east of Puerto Rico, northeast of it by Sunday. Still a long way to go here on this one. We'll see what happens. They say a lot can change in 7 days. Well, I can tell you a lot can change in 24 hours. As long as I've been doing this, we'd fly something one day and it looks like just complete tropical trash, and then we come back 24 hours later and you've got a massive Category 4 hurricane, Category 5. So it's time to pay attention, think about your plan, what you're going to do, where you're going to go. If you can see the water from your house, you probably need to be thinking about what your plan is to evacuate if emergency responders tell you to. What are you going to do with your pets? Does your generator run? When's the last time you've checked it? I'm not saying go run out and buy a bunch of gas right now, but you need to be thinking about where's my cans and all, so I can keep the generator running, that kind of thing. Just start having an awareness, talk to your kids, and educate them on what you need to do and why you're doing it.
Well,
so
and
that's the big takeaway right now.
That, to me, is the most important thing when we get a storm that starts getting attention every year. That is a great reminder for all of the things that you're talking about. Whether it comes here or not, that's a moot point. You have to be prepared, because you and I both know a lot of times, as you said, things can change in 24 hours, and we go from, we don't have a problem, to, oh, my gosh, what do we do? If you've got a plan, that makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
It sure does. I mean, even a simple checklist on a piece of notebook paper of who you got to call, what important papers to pick up and take with you, because you're gonna lose internet if you flood. If your papers are sitting on the floor, you're gonna lose it. So you just need to think about all that. I've got a go box with all of my important papers and stuff, so that I can grab really quick and head out the door. I tell you something to think about, which would just 20 years ago this month, and I know you're gonna get into it. I might as well just blow right into it right now with Katrina. We're on the cusp of the 20-year anniversary. I was watching a documentary last night about it called The Race Against Time. I think it was on National Geographic, and it brought back a lot of memories. And things I was thinking of was some good friends of ours had a newborn. They couldn't get baby formula. Stuff that we take for granted every day. You just run out down to the local grocery, pet food, stuff like that. I mean, you got to think ahead of what you're going to need. And those couple of items right there are kind of important. Of course, toilet paper is always important. We got to have toilet paper, but just those basic necessities for those that can't help themselves, pets and infants, and then also the elderly. Look, are you on insulin? Maybe you should get a little bit of extra insulin right now. Just things to think about.
Well, and we had the same problem with all of those things up here in Southwest Mississippi during Katrina because it was an enormous event, but to me, Katrina is also a great example of what you're talking about, because if I remember correctly, as Katrina was coming into the Gulf, it would die down, then it would strengthen up. At one point, at the start of the weekend before it came in on Monday, a lot of the common wisdom from forecasters was that it was probably going over and it was going to hit in Texas. And then it made a turn and came up through here. You never know. There is no such thing as certainty when it comes to these storms, is there?
Yeah, the forecasters do an incredible job, and we've collected so much data over the decades that the forecast modeling is extremely powerful now, and it's strong. It's much better than it always has been, but it's not 100% perfect. So, I mean, you got to remember, if you're on the Gulf Coast, anywhere from Brownsville, Texas, all the way to Miami, Florida, and around the bend there, if it's in the Gulf, you need to be paying attention. Okay. Straight up. You just never know. And then the cone. If you're close to the cone, just because you're on the outer edge of it doesn't mean you're not going to see some type of effects. The bigger the storm, the slower the movement, the bigger the surge. And the surge is what kills so many people. That's why we have so much loss of life in these hurricanes. And what really concerns me now is, over the last so many years, we've had this massive influx of people moving into the southeast from all over the country. And they have never experienced these storms. I've grown up. I'm 54 years old. Gave away my age a year ago. But I've lived with this my entire life growing up in New Orleans. So I know what to expect. I know how to prepare. My parents prepared me to be able to prepare. Okay? It's a lot of words, but that's basically what it is. So these people moving in from up north, out west, they have no clue what they're in for. And you saw that in the last couple of years down in Central Florida. A lot of people from all over the country moved in, and then they got completely wiped out. And they're like, yeah, we're not doing this anymore. And then they leave. And that's fine, too. It's their choice, whatever they want to do. But those people are the ones that we really need to reach out to and talk to and make sure they are aware of what's going on and how to prepare and how to sustain for anywhere from 7 to 14 days without power. Because that's a long time. And it will try your nerves, as you know. Katrina, I think like 90% of the state of Mississippi was out of power. We were out down here where we lived for 2 weeks. And, my wife and I, we were dating at the time. And I looked at her, I said, we can get through this, we can get through anything. So, and we're still together. So there's a lot of truth to that.
Well, and unfortunately, yeah, you need to talk to these people. You're exactly right. You need to educate the newcomers to the South and prepare them as much as you can. But they won't be fully prepared. They'll never completely understand until they've been through one. And then all of a sudden it becomes real and they get what you were talking about. That doesn't mean you don't try, though. You still have to try. You still have to do your best to educate them. Some will listen. Some will go, oh, no, I've been through stuff before. It's no big deal. It's a whole different ball game, and you don't realize it until you've been through one.
Yeah, it's a rough ride. I've flown hundreds of them in the air, and I'll tell you, I'll fly through one any day as opposed to riding it out on the ground inside. When you get hit by that eye wall and you're talking 125 up to 150 mile per hour winds, let me tell you, it's pretty scary. I don't really recommend it, but sometimes you just don't have a choice. And sometimes you have to hunker down. But if you're in a low-lying area, you can see the water from your house, it's probably a really good idea to leave before that happens. You don't want to wait too late, because then you get stuck in traffic. And the last thing you want to be is stuck on the roads in a car riding this out. So, there's a fine line there. You got to really watch on, when to make that call. But if you've got somewhere to go, hey, go make a 2 or 3 day trip out of it. The worst thing to happen, you spend a couple $100 on a hotel room somewhere and you have a nice meal a few nights in a row and you come back to it, and then we start the cleanup. It's actually, one thing to think about, a lot of people don't consider this is, I'm very meticulous about my yard, but right before a hurricane's making landfall, I cut the grass. And that's just because it makes the cleanup a lot easier afterwards. Because if you let it go and then next thing you know, you can't get to it for another week after a storm, man, you're looking at a jungle out there. So anything you can do to prepare and help yourself out and educate our youth. That's the big thing. Don't lock Katrina in a box. Pull her out right now and talk about her. Dave, I can't tell you how many speaking engagements I've got this month, and that's just because it's the 20-year anniversary. We knew it was going to be like that. You guys popped up, just the last part of last week. I knew we'd be talking pretty soon. So, and I always look forward to talking with you. That's why I do this. It's all about education and outreach. I've only got a couple more years before they retire me off, and I head out the door. And so I'm trying to reach out and get the word out to as many people as possible to heed the warnings and pay attention.
You mentioned that. Let me ask you a question, because what you do is such a specific, unique job. Okay, there aren't a lot of you out there. How badly are you going to miss it when they send you home?
Whew, man. Boy, you put me on the spot there. So I'm in my 37th year of service right now. So it goes by really quick. I joined right out of high school, and I am going to miss it. I'm going to miss the people. I'm going to miss the hype of when the missions are building and the energy that's flowing throughout the squadron and the tempo of it. Everybody kind of just gets into their element of the excitement. Like today, I think tomorrow they're leaving to go down to St. Croix. I think 2 planes are leaving today and 1 tomorrow. They're heading down there to start picking Tropical Storm Erin up as she's coming off of Africa there. So that I'll miss that excitement and the build of everybody coming into the squadron and trying to get on the flights. And it's just this giant team effort between operations, the maintainers, and everybody in the wing that pulls together to pull it off every year. It's a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun doing it.
We're up against the break. Can you stick around for the next segment?
Absolutely. I'll be here.
Lieutenant Colonel Sean Cross.
Now it's time for the Bible verse of the day, brought to you by J&R Restaurant Group and Outback Steakhouse in Flowood. After Jesus said this, he looked toward heaven and prayed, Father, the time has come. Glorify your Son, that your Son may glorify you. John 17, verse 1. This has been the Bible verse of the day, brought to you by J&R Restaurant Group and Outback Steakhouse in Flowood. Online at jrrestaurantgroup.com. That's jrrestaurantgroup.com.
How can RJ Young help you elevate your small to enterprise-sized businesses' copiers, printers, and scanners while cutting costs with the help of RJ Young? Now partnering with Ricoh to offer the best office printers on the market, you can focus on more important aspects of your business. Learn more at rjyoung.com. That's rjyoung.com.
Hello, I'm Gary Jolly from the Tractor Store. LS Tractor understands your passion for the land, and just like you, LS Tractor is committed to excellence and superior products. LS Tractor comes with a long list of standard features that are unmatched by other brands and backed with the LS commitment to provide exceptional customer service and satisfaction. You get a lot more for your money with the LS Tractor. Come to the Tractor Store in Richland to experience the LS difference. The Tractor Store in Richland.
Callaway's is everything that's growing green. That's what Callaway's is.
Callaway's patio furniture summer sale starts now. This is what you've been waiting for. New markdowns throughout the store just in time for your summer family fun. With the South's largest in-stock selection, you can enjoy your new patio furniture today. Callaway's has a large selection of ornamentals and color plants with special markdowns throughout the store. Stop by Callaway's Farmers Market full of fresh fruits, vegetables, jellies, jams, local honey, and the best tomatoes in town. This is Brent Callaway. Since 1954, Callaway's has been family owned and operated. Callaway's has everything you need to make your yard and garden beautiful, from trees, shrubs, and color plants to bulk soils for delivery and pickup. Be sure to stop by and visit Callaway's summer patio furniture sale and additional markdowns throughout the store. Callaway's in Gladstad on Calhoun Station Parkway, south of Germantown.
That's what Callaway's is.
Pure Air Consultants has always been your go-to for reliable and affordable heating and cooling systems, and now we're offering an additional product to avoid the 25 to 30% increase that everyone is talking about. With Day and Night, a Carrier family product, your professionals at Pure Air Consultants can install a reliable heating and cooling system with a 10-year system warranty. Pure Air Consultants and Day and Night, providing ultimate comfort for your home for an affordable price. Call us today for your free quote, 601-939-7420. That's 601-939-7420, or find us online at mypureairconsultants.com.
Pour yourself a cup of coffee and get the Magnolia State's most important news of the day. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
And now, the talk that keeps Mississippi talking.
Now, on to the real part.
Dynamite! On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Rhino, the master in the booth. Coming back to speak with Lieutenant Colonel Sean Cross again to the dulcet melodious tones of Rock You Like a Hurricane. That seems so appropriate in so many ways. And now that I have completely wrecked your mood for the day with that question right before the break, let's get on to a slightly different topic here for a moment. And that's something that I'm seeing more and more of lately. Social media can be a fantastic way to get information out, but it's become problematic with people picking the worst, most catastrophic possible computer model out of the 30 or 40 that are available and representing it as reality. Can you talk for a minute about how the forecasting works and how you shouldn't buy into all of this non-stop doom and gloom hype?
That's a problem. That's probably the easiest way to answer that question. I mean, there are so many people now on social media, storm chasers and things like that. And there's some guys out there doing an incredible job, some incredible work. They have PhDs in meteorology. I mean, these guys, they're fantastic. With the news sources too, everything is 24/7 now, it's just constant flow of information. So you have to educate yourself, number one. And the best place to do that is the National Hurricane Center website. Okay, they are the experts. They are the ones that build the model, okay, because our data that's collected from the aircraft, Dave, it goes directly to them and nobody else in the world. And they take that information, all of that data that's collected from the SMRF, which is the step frequency microwave radiometer, which is, measuring wind speed at the surface, the drop sign data, which every 10 feet that it's falling, it's collecting data. All of this stuff goes into our Vortex data message that we build from the aircraft, goes right to the National Hurricane Center in Miami. The forecasters there and the scientists, okay, not social media experts. These are scientists, man. These guys and girls are very smart down there. They're the best in the world. And they take and put all of it into those supercomputers, and they come up with that forecasted cone. Okay, now, when they're done with that information, it goes out onto the World Wide Web, and everybody else can see it. It's free information. And then you'll see all these other models that are built around the world. They'll use our data too. That's fine. But the official forecasted track of the United States of America comes from the National Hurricane Center in Miami. And you tune right into their website, and you can look right at nhc.noaa.gov. And you go right there, and you can click on whatever storms are out there, and it'll show you what's out in the Atlantic, Eastern Pacific, Central Pacific, all the way out to Hawaii. So that is the best place to get your information. And obviously, emergency management officials are not on that website. Your local, you need to tune into your local news outlets, see what your local emergency management officials are saying and what they're calling for in evacuations. So that's the best advice I can give to anybody. Obviously, we're all human. We do get locked in on some of these stories and things like that. But you have to pay attention to what the experts are saying.
Well, and I think that's what leads to part of the confusion is you said local emergency management services. Most of them are on social media, and they put out excellent information, exactly what the people in their area, in the county or the city or whatever that they cover, exactly what they need to know. But it's right there on the same platform with, pardon my French, some yahoo sitting at home in his underwear in his grandma's basement typing, "We're all gonna die." That's not what we need.
No, you're correct. And look, social media is a great tool because the generation now coming up, especially the kids, I mean, look, they'll forget their math homework, but they know right where their phone is. So the best way to get the information is through social media. And look, I use it too. And I rarely watch television, but when I need information, I'll go to my local news source right here on my telephone and just pull it up. And then I can see what's going on as far as what I need to know, especially when a storm's coming. When it's coming close, when it gets into the Gulf, social media of your local media outlets, it's going to change rapidly because they're going to start prepping and they're going to start letting people know what's going on because all of the government officials from Waveland all the way to Pascagoula, these guys are all going to want to get airtime and they're going to let the residents know what's going on. And that's the beauty of live streaming on your phone because if you're out getting supplies, you can keep up real time as to what's going on your phone. 40 years ago, we didn't have that. I was sitting in the living room waiting on Nash Roberts to come on the news in New Orleans. And, man, I tell you, I wish he was still here today. He was always the best. Back then, they did it with paper charts. They had to draw all that stuff out.
He had his stick.
So,
he had his stick he would put up there and say, "It's going right here." And then he was always right. That was the part that was amazing about it. He was so good at what he did. We don't have that kind of thing anymore. Well, we've got you, which in a lot of ways is better. I'm putting the whole thing on you, by the way, because I'm talking to you, Colonel.
That's okay. It's a big team here in the wing. It's 1,600 people, and it takes everybody to pull off this mission. You go back to Nash Roberts. I can vividly remember as a small kid watching. There was a tropical system bearing down on New Orleans, and I can remember him pointing at the paper chart with his stick saying, "We're waiting on the latest report to come back from a reconnaissance aircraft." So little did I know way back then that I would be the guy, helping out and doing that and flying the plane with the rest of my crew members and stuff here in the squadron. It's a tremendous team effort. It's all flown by Air Force reservists, all citizen airmen, and they come from all over the country to fly this mission a couple of days a month and to keep everybody safe by collecting data and getting it down to the experts in Miami.
I mentioned it back at the beginning. It's been fairly quiet recently. What's the last flight you made out into a storm?
Ooh, it's been a while. They got me in a chief of safety office right now, so I've been flying the desk for a while, but I'm hoping to get back up here pretty soon. So hopefully this season I'll get a flight under my belt. I had one flight last season, so you get older, they start putting you in other positions and things like that, but I hate to say it, I'm like the oldest guy in the squadron now, but, everybody's time comes eventually at some point.
That does bring up the question, is the pasture comfortable now that they're easing you out into it?
It's not bad. I'll tell you. It's you get older. These long missions, 10 to 12 hours, where you watch the sun go down and the sun come back up. It's tough on the body. You pay a price for it. It usually takes a couple of days to recover from that. So it is harder on you the older you get. And that's what anything we do as we age. But still, the excitement and the thrill and the rush of it. It's hard to find that anywhere else, especially when you punch through an eye wall into a well-developed storm and you see that stadium effect and you can look down and see the surface and you can look up and see the sky. I mean, it is breathtaking to see it. And I hope I get to see it a couple more times, but I hope that storm doesn't make landfall anywhere because, we know that people pay a price for that and we get to get a lot of great footage from inside the storm and everybody's got these numbers on their arm and mine's at 175. Somebody pays a price for every one of those penetrations. And unfortunately, I always goes through my mind when I'm on a landfall mission and I look down and I'm like, God, I hope they paid attention because somebody's probably going to die today, unfortunately, because they were just curious and they want to see what it was like. Unfortunately, it happens in every storm and it's because of a drowning. It's always somebody drowns because they just don't listen and they don't get out and they're curious. And that's what I really worried about is all those people moving in from out of state. They're curious. They want to see what it's like. we hosted a kid from Denmark a couple of years ago, foreign exchange student. And he told me when he got here, he goes, man, I really hope we get a hurricane. I want to see what it's like. I'm like, no, you don't, son. You don't want to go through that. The cleanup is just, it's tremendous.
We tried to
get ready now.
We try to put it across as much as possible, but it's really hard to understand exactly what the storm surge is, which is a big part of what you're talking about. It's a giant wall of water moving at a decent clip, isn't it?
It is, and that's a great lead into a point I want to make is you talk about Katrina, you know, at her height she was a 5 and then she dissipated to a 4, 3-4 landfall. A lot of stories about that, a lot of information. It's been 20 years too since I've flown it, but you know, that water is still coming. Okay, that is not stopping. If it's a category 5, it drops down to a 1. All of that water, that surge is still coming your way. So, you know, the difference between a category 3 and a 4 is 1 mile per hour. So everybody says, oh, it's only category 3, I'll stay and think about that. Well, I mean, what if it's only 1 mile an hour from a 4? You know, the wind damage at that level can be catastrophic. The trees falling, things like that. But that surge does not stop, and you're still going to get it. I mean, it may be 6 inches less, a foot less, or whatever, but still, when you push 3 to 4 feet of water over the Mississippi Coast seawall, that has a tremendous effect. And it's not just coming over the seawall. It's going to wrap around under the Ocean Springs Bridge, low-lying areas, things like that. You know, it was 25 feet out front in Katrina, somewhere's up to 28 in some areas. Back here in the Back Bay, I live right against I-10. There was 18 feet back here. The house I'm in was built in 1946. 1946, it's a fortress. It was built out of concrete. I mean, it's solid. This guy knew what he was doing. It took 5 feet. My head right now sitting here, I'm probably right at 4 feet, 3.5, 4 feet. So you can figure another foot over me. That's a lot of water when you look south across that bay, man. You can't really escape that.
Be aware, pay attention to what Colonel Cross and the rest of the folks, the information they give that comes to you from the National Hurricane Center. Listen to it. Pay attention to it. And that will save some lives. Lieutenant Cross, always enjoy talking to you, man.
Same here, Dave. Let's check in later on during the season, see how things are looking.
From the Middays with Gerard Gibert. It is on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
You know, I'm suddenly having sharp stabbing pains in my forehead because Rhino dropped a wonderful nugget right before we came back on the air. Tell them what you told me, Rhino. Welcome back to Middays in the Element Well Studios. Go ahead, Rhino.
Yeah, the D.C. folks had a press conference after the meeting with Pam Bondi, and one of the reporters asked the D.C. police chief, Pamela Smith, do you know what the chain of command is now? And her response was, what does that mean?
It's not that she didn't know what the chain of command was, because it's, you know, it's a new situation. You could possibly explain that away. No, she didn't know what the concept of chain of command was. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it seems like.
She did. I think, you know, when you go to a doctor and you've got, say, for example, a sharp stabbing pain in your forehead, they go in and one of the terms that they use is they focus the problem. They find where it's coming from. They find what's causing this difficulty. I think we just focused a big part of the problem with law enforcement in Washington, D.C. If the police chief doesn't understand the concept of chain of command, you have an enormous bucket of problems, which we've seen on full display. This is unfortunately not surprising, but again, she was literally a DEI hire. She was hired as the head of the DEI initiative for the Washington, D.C. Police Department and then got promoted. So she is one of the few that unequivocally, nobody can argue she was a DEI hire. That was what she was hired to do. And now she's running the whole thing and doesn't understand what a chain of command is. This takeover is fine. And what they're going to do now, I guarantee you, from things like that, because if she said that out loud at the press conference in front of the cameras, you can imagine what the conversation was like in the private meeting with Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and everyone else. You can only imagine what that conversation was like. So they are going to gently put her over to the side, maybe give her a lovely black and white picture sheet with some crayons and tell her to get the coloring, stay out of her way, is what's going to happen here. The problem is, once this ends, it's going to go right back to what it was if she's still in charge, isn't it?
Yep.
So, temporary solution at best. At best. Unless changes are made. And then you have to deal with everybody banging their pots and pans at 8 o'clock every night. That's horrific. That's impactful. That's brave. It's going to be construed as brave when people go out and do that, by the way. And there will be some dingbats that'll go out and do that. I have no doubt.
Well, it's only brave if they don't believe the fudge numbers on crime statistics.
Well, that's a good point. If you go by their crime statistics, there is no crime in Washington, D.C. Everything's great. Saw a headline earlier, with everything going on up there, ABC News has decided to run with the headline of their main story that homeless advocates are concerned because President Trump said he was moving the homeless people out of Washington, D.C. What else do you want to have happen? I mean, you're going to clean it up. That's a part of it. We have a homeless problem all over the country. We've got a homeless problem in Mississippi. Just about every municipality has some level of homeless. This needs to be addressed for the people that need help. And here's what I mean by that. And this goes back to what I was talking about with dealing with juvenile offenders and showing compassion in the wrong direction. Kind of the same thing here. Are there people on the streets that have had a bad run, bad stuff happened to them of one type or another, and they need and deserve a little help and a little compassion to get back on their feet and get back going? Do those people exist? Yes, 100%. Definitely. Is it all of them? No. I'm going to catch heat for this one too, Rhino, and I don't care. Just because, pay attention, listen closely. Just because some percentage of a group is good or worthy does not mean you treat the entire group as if they're good and worthy. That is a fundamental mistake I see a lot of people making. We have a double-ended compassion problem. And here's what I mean. Either we're not showing compassion to the people that deserve it, or we're showing too much compassion to the people that don't. I'm sorry, if somebody is homeless and these exist because they are, abusing substances and they wind up on the streets, they're still abusing substances, so they're getting money from somewhere. And immediately the cry when you bring this up is, you just need to get them help. That doesn't always work. Take a swing at it, sure. And if they wind up right back in the same situation, well, you can't help them that way. That's been proven. You don't keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. We need to help everybody we can that's helpable. But we need to quit pretending everyone is helpable. Everyone is a good person trapped in a bad situation, like the 17-year-old that was sentenced in Canton for flashing a gun and stealing another kid's shoes. Well, I'm sure there's a good person in there somewhere. Why? Why are you sure of that? That's the question we don't ask. Why? Because it's uncomfortable. You may be squirming in your seat a little bit while we're talking about this. But it has to be talked about. So you have a homeless problem in Washington, D.C. President Trump, well, what do? You remove the homeless people from Washington, D.C., and then you no longer have that part of the problem that the nation's capital is dealing with. What do you do then? You don't go turn them out like woodland creatures out in the forest and say, good luck. No, you take them somewhere, as President Trump very clearly said he was going to, and then you start going through and you start helping all the people that can be helped. Right now, I'm going to catch some. You're going to answer my email for the next couple of days. I've decided. Just because of this conversation. Notice he did not immediately spring forward and go, sure.
I'm just trying to remember, who was it that had the video of the homeless couple that was complaining that their free housing was too small and they weren't allowed to smoke meth?
Yes. That's what I'm talking about. We spend a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of heartache and compassion on people that will not wind up with a better life because of it. We're not moving the needle at all with some people. And this is across the board in every aspect of society right now, it seems, in the United States. Everybody deserves to be helped. The 17-year-old that flashed a gun and stole the other 17-year-old's shoes, no, he deserves 15 years in jail. That's what he got.
He can find his inner good person in those 15 years.
Yes. Plenty of time to look. Plenty of time to go searching. And some people, to be fair, some people, not all, certainly not a majority, but some people, they get sent to jail for doing something stupid during the time that they're in jail, do have some self-realizations, and they come out a different person, a better person. That's not even the majority. It does happen. But we need to quit basing our expectations on the good minority instead of dealing with the reality of the majority. In every group you can imagine. Doesn't matter what you look at, doesn't matter how you divide it up. Out of every group, I don't care what kind of group it is. Some of them, yes, are good people in a bad spot and need help. Yes. And we need to help them. That doesn't mean we help everybody in the same situation the same way. Just received a text. I've been uninvited from the Sunday morning church ladies muffin club, so I'm not surprised. It's okay. When we come back, I was going to go on a completely different tack in this segment. I had teased it with you off air. And then the D.C. police chief didn't know what DEI was. Knows what DEI was, didn't know what chain of command was. And we wound up here. So we're going to try it again when we come back here on Middays in the Element Well Studios on SuperTalk Mississippi. Keep it here.
Poly-Up of Mississippi.
You know what that means.
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
We'll do it live.
On SuperTalk Mississippi.
Scared in case I fall off my chair, and I'm wondering how I'll get down the stairs.
Welcome back. SuperTalk Mississippi. Middays in the Element Wealth Studios on a Tuesday morning. Rhino, what in the heck is a labubu?
Is that the weird little furry demon thing that's on sale at all the gas stations?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I haven't seen any, which I haven't been out much, but I haven't seen any for sale around Mississippi, but I'm sure they're out there. Police in California just recovered 14 boxes of stolen labubus that they say are worth $30,000.
Yeah, there's apparently a social media trend that's got a bunch of people collecting them.
So everyone's insane. Okay, gotcha. That doesn't even qualify as breaking news, though, does it?
It's like a cross between Pokemon cards and Tickle Me Elmo. It's really limited supply, and there's chance of getting rares when you open the box. I don't get it.
No, I don't either. I mean, in a big, broad sense, I get it. It's just like loot boxes in video games or, anything where you take a chance and who knows, you might be a big winner. Or you might have an ugly little doll, one or the other. Either way, this is what you got, so have at it.
Yeah, but with a Pokemon card or a baseball card or an autograph or other piece of memorabilia that you're collecting, you can put that in a folder and put it on a shelf, and it's just there. Whereas these little things, you wind up with a whole army of little bitty weird-looking dolls. Where are you going to put all of them?
In a box at the garage sale would be my guess. Might surprise me, but somehow I doubt that it's going to turn out much better than that. But let's be honest. We have we have a long storied history in making stupid decisions as a race, the human race. And that, to me, feels like one of them. So I just wanted to know if you knew anything about them from a local aspect, because I've heard about it nationally, but I still don't understand it and probably never will.
My introduction to it was the interviewer during the Naked Gun press tour asked Liam Neeson what it was, and his response was, "Can you eat it?"
Good answer. I like that one. Jackson City Council today, by the way, approved all of Mayor John Horn's nominations for the Civil Service Commission Board, so they're now in full operation again. Apparently, there was a Civil Service Commission, but they had vacancies which were not being filled by the previous administration, and as a result, they didn't have a quorum and couldn't do anything. So that's kind of directly on Mayor Lumumba, isn't it? I mean, Mayor Horn came in, immediately made nominations, all of which were approved unanimously by the Jackson City Council, by the way. Unanimous votes on all of them. Each one of them serving a 6-year term.
I don't think we'll ever know the depths of the corruption under Lumumba.
I think we'll find out more than we know now. But that is one example, because how did we solve the problem of not having a civil service commission for the employees of the city of Jackson? The mayor nominated people who were approved unanimously by the board. So we didn't have that during the last administration because, well, how many nominations were made by the previous mayor? Pretty sure that answer is 0. You can't vote on a non-nomination. So we know where the fault was there. We know where the problem was. It's kind of rare because usually in politics, you've got, well, this piece didn't do this and this piece isn't working right. We got to deal with this over here first. Unless I'm misreading it, Rhino, this seems a little more focused in where the problem was because we got to see exactly what fixed it.
And that's probably the main reason he got beat.
Yeah.
People were tired of his incompetence, which incompetence is about the nicest way you can put it.
Well, I feel like we have a problem with willful incompetence. It's not even garden variety incompetence where you just can't do it. You don't do it on purpose sometimes.
Willful ignorance, willful incompetence, and learned helplessness. 3 main problems facing society today.
Yeah. I can't find an argument with any of those 3. You're exactly right. Coming up in just a moment, we have Fox News, SuperTalk Mississippi News, and then hour number 3, the final hour of Middays in the Element Wealth Studios. Right after this. Keep it here.
Get ready to go beyond the headlines and join a meaningful conversation with people from around the state. You're listening to Middays with Gerard Gibert here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Welcome back. Hour number 3 of Middays in the Element Wealth Studios on SuperTalk Mississippi. Dave Hughes here, Rhino in the booth. As always, got something a little weird. You want to follow me down a little strange train of thought, Rhino?
Always.
For just a second. Yeah, well, that's kind of what we do, isn't it? Got a story out in California. There are couple of different groups. They've been doing it underground for a while, but they are starting a real honest-to-goodness robot fighting league. The robots have boxing gloves.
I was about to say, we already had that, didn't we? We've had it twice now with BattleBots.
Yeah, but no, these are humanoid robots who are going to get in there and duke it out.
Like the Hugh Jackman movie.
Yeah, real steel. But that is exactly what jumped in my mind, but it reminded me of something. You go all the way back to the 50s, the 60s. As a matter of fact, the whole concept of a robot fighting league really first surfaced in a story by an author named Robert Matheson, probably best known as the guy who wrote I Am Legend, that they turned into several movies, including Will Smith's movie. He wrote that story in 1956. Real Steel was the 3rd time it had been adapted into a movie or a TV show. It was an episode of Twilight Zone. It goes back. And that got me to thinking, how much of what we have now first appeared in fiction? In science fiction. Somebody thought of it 50, 60 years ago, and I have seen multiple scientists and other people who have developed things give credit and say, I wanted to make that real. I saw it and I wanted to make it real. They drew inspiration from it. I mean, you go all the way back to Star Trek in the 60s. They were using their idea of what an iPad and a floppy disk would look like on the bridge of the Enterprise. Now, you come to today. That was stuff from the 50s. We're talking about 1956 when that story was written. Still inspiring things that are happening now and developing now. Some useful, some Robot Fighting League comes screaming to mind is not very useful. But here's my question. What is being written or made by Hollywood today that will inspire anyone in 50 years to create something new to move society forward? Nothing that I can think of.
Maybe the nanotech from Marvel.
Maybe. Yeah, that's a good thought. Maybe. Of course, that is in the Marvel movies based on comic books from the 70s.
Yeah.
So even then, it's from 50 years ago. What are we coming up with now? Original ideas that are being put out there that are going to become reality in 50 years. Because everything that is being put out now, and I'm sorry, you go to publishing, I don't care what the fairies are doing behind closed doors. I don't care how many werewolves are after you, ma'am. I don't care how special you are. That's not my thing. And that's pretty much, it feels like all that's being published right now. We are suffering from a lack of vision, a lack of ideas. And this does tie back into the conversation, to me anyway, that we had earlier about misplaced compassion. We can't forget not seeing the forest for the trees. We're not really doing a good job of making out the trees right now. We have always had people who have looked past now and instead paid some attention to what could be. That has fallen by the wayside. The people that do that, for the most part, have been squashed down. They have been canceled over the last 10, 15 years to the point to where you don't hear anything from them. So where are the people in 50 years, the scientists, the people that are developing everything under the sun? Where are they going to draw their inspiration from? What are they going to get it from? Because it is a long proven track record. You look at, we have several hospitals and medical facilities in Mississippi, some of our outstanding medical care facilities that now have the option of robot surgery, where the robot does the surgery. There's usually a doctor involved. They just did the first one where a robot did surgery all by itself. That was outside of Mississippi, but robot-assisted surgery, they call it. That was in science fiction back in the 50s.
If you draw that far enough back, wasn't that Heinlein?
Yes,
the remote control hand.
Yes, called the name of that story was Waldo.
Yeah,
that it was named after the lead character, who had developed these little robot hands to do everything possible for him because he had extreme weakness all over his body. He had a condition, couldn't really move.
That came out in the middle of World War II, didn't it?
Yes, that was a 1940s Heinlein story, and the kicker is, to this day, they use those in industry. They use them in the nuclear power area. They're still to this day called Waldos because of that story. That's where they came from. I'm worried about 50 years from now. I really am, because we were joking yesterday about reboots and trying to get another reboot of Knight Rider. Everything is reboots. There is no original thought allowed. You have to toe the party line and do exactly what we want, the way we want, and only say what we wish you to say, or we're going to destroy you. That is a chain effect. Because if that had happened in the 40s and 50s, get your opinion on this, Rhino, and if we hadn't had that output of creative, forward-thinking problem-solving, for lack of a better term, would we have the advancements that we have now? If that hadn't happened, if they had been canceled back then for daring to say something?
Oh, no, we'd be much worse off.
I mean, we're not in great shape now, but it's not for the reasons a lot of people think. You talking about Heinlein, and that's always dangerous because it's easy to get me started talking Heinlein. You know that, you rascal, you. The movie that they made that was kind of subpar off of a Heinlein novel, The Puppet Masters, alien invasion thing. That one was written in, I think, 1942, 1945, somewhere around in there, right? World War II times. Like the second page of the book, the lead character walks out onto the streets of Washington and his pocket phone rings and he answers it, pulls it out and answers it. So much of what we have in real life was first conceived of in fiction. And currently, nothing is being conceived of that I can see really in fiction. It's all just iterations of the same stuff we already have and we already know. So in 50 years' time, I think at best we're not going to be in much different shape than we are right now.
Is that because of our societal exuberance back then that allowed for the confidence required to think glowingly about the future?
I think that's part of it. I do.
Because, there are still lots of concepts that were first put forth from as far back as H.G. Wells up to the 70s-ish in sci-fi that are still well beyond our means. Like a great example would be the Dyson sphere. Like that concept is probably from the 30s and then got named and coined. I'm pretty sure the guy's name was Dyson in like 65 or 70.
Mm-hmm.
And we're nowhere near that technological capability.
No. We're not near, if you look at the space program, in a lot of ways, we're not at the same level we were at in the 60s on that. What we did then versus what we're doing now. Some ways we've improved. A lot of ways we have backslid. But I think it was a different time, and it was a different attitude towards things. Having said that, the current furor over AI, I got one phrase for you. I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. Even that's not new. So where's the inspiration for 50 years from now? That's my question. I'm just curious to see where we think it's coming from. I don't know.
Be sure and check out
It's so awesome!
Middays with Gerard Gibert.
Come on, let's get on with the show!
On SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Amen. Welcome back. Super Talk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes on Middays in the Element Wealth Studios as always. Has anybody checked on the kids who have since graduated after being told their entire life, like Joe Biden told the coal miners, they needed to learn to code now that AI is taking all the coding jobs away? Anybody checked in? Well, I did see one article earlier today where they were going and interviewing some people in their 20s who went through college. They had heard it their whole life, went through college, got their computer science degree, learned to code, got that all down, and then AI took over, and vibe coding is now, they're letting hundreds, if not thousands of coders go because AI will do it for, $20 a month. The one that I saw, the one girl in particular, the lead girl that they interviewed for the article, she had done all of that. She had invested. She had gotten her computer science degree, and she's currently working at Chipotle because that's all that was available. Nobody's hiring for coders anymore. Things change. Not always for the better, but things change. And you can adapt or, you got a problem. So please, keep them in your thoughts and prayers. They know how to code and no one cares. I will say something, though, and we talk about this all the time, and it is hugely important. The push for, training in vocational skills. Plumbing and electrician and all of these things. When your toilet backs up, ChatGPT is not going to help you. When you're building a new house, ChatGPT is not going to show up. for now. Because you look at the advancement of the robot technologies. We were just talking about robots in a boxing league out there. That's kind of cute. It's a joke. We've seen a lot of cute display cases for robotic technology. I hope you think it's not coming where one day your toilet clogs up and a robot responds. That is not a zero chance. We have to start working now, and this goes back to what we were talking about last segment, Rhino. We have to start having a little forward vision. We have to start straightening some things out now before we reach the point where the tech takes over everything, and then what do you do? I mean, where do you go from there?
I've spent a lot of time thinking about that transition period between now and then being the adoption of easily available commercial robots. And I'm convinced we're going to see a similar race similar to the race we've seen between computer hardware and software or computing power and memory, where there's a breakthrough and you've got tons of memory, so now you open up more computing power, and then the computing power becomes too much for the memory available, and so you have these competing. They're in the same industry, but they're kind of competing against the different sides of the industry. I think with robots, especially helper robots like you're talking about, I think that'll take longer to develop and longer for adoption. So in the transition period, you're going to have a similar race between breakthroughs and innovations of autonomy with robots, and those breakthroughs will increase the power density available and computing power available, and you'll see humans with extra capabilities provided by exoskeletons or heads-up displays or something like that would allow that competition within AI and robotics. And that transition period, depending on what you look at it and how long it's going to take, could be anywhere from 25 to 50 years. So you're asking the question where we're going to be in 50 years. In 50 years, we may have those robot helpers, but in the meantime, you may have dudes on the loading dock that are not having to retire early because of back pain because they've got an exoskeleton that lets them suit up in the morning, and I can lift 1,000 pounds and not break a sweat.
That's exactly right. And I would like to interject with one thing, and you may hear all of this conversation and you go, Dave, I live in Mississippi. What does this have to do with me? Have you seen that big, nice $10 billion data center Amazon's building? I hope you think none of this impacts Mississippi. I hope you think it has no impact and will have no impact on your life. But that's what I'm talking about. We have to think outside of our box to what's coming so we know how to deal with it. And I agree with you, Rhino. This isn't happening anytime soon. But anytime soon is a completely different phrase than never. Might not be you. Might not even be your kids. Your grandkids? Yeah. It's going to be a slightly different situation than what we have now. And we better put some thought into it now and how we're going to steer it and how we're going to develop this and how we're going to do it and how we're going to, adjust, because we don't want to get caught with our robotic pants down. There's a mental image I didn't need. Speaking of which, by the way, speaking of AI and robotics and everything else, back into science fiction. The 3 laws of robotics created by Isaac Asimov in 1942. All robots were programmed with this. Some of his robot stories were because this somehow messed up, and exploring the conflicts that these brought about. And they were in order of importance. The most important, a robot may not injure a human being or through inaction allow a human being to come to harm. Number 2, below that one, a robot must obey the orders given to it by human beings except where such orders would conflict with the first law. Law 3, a robot must protect its own existence as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. So self last. Do what you're told second. First, don't hurt anybody or let anyone get hurt. 1942, Isaac Asimov came up with that. That sounds like something we really need to give to the tech companies right now, doesn't it? That list of 3?
Yeah, and there's some debate over whether or not there should be other rules added that he couldn't possibly have thought were going to be a problem. Like, I think the most popular recommendation for the 4th law of robotics is that a robot should not deceive a human by impersonating a human.
Yeah, that would make sense. I could see where that would be a worthy addition. That should probably be the 3rd law and bump the 3rd one down to the 4th, though, because you take them in order of importance.
Yeah.
That one should override allowing themselves to come to harm, but nothing else, I think. So, yeah, that would be a good addition. But this is what I'm talking about thinking about this stuff and thinking ahead. That was 80 years ago, a little over 80 years ago, Asimov came up with that concept because he was thinking forward. Because that's what a lot of people missed about that generation, specifically of science fiction authors. They weren't making stuff up. They were literally looking into the future and seeing what they thought was most likely to happen or possible to happen, and then wrote stories about it. All of the classics from the golden age of science fiction, that's what they did. We need another golden age of science fiction to help us work through some stuff. My opinion. And it's not just science fiction, even though technically I think this qualifies, and several others do. How many times have you seen someone refer to George Orwell's 1984?
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't just written. No work. It wasn't even just written in 1984. It was written, I think, back in the 50s or 60s. He wrote that. There are so many works from that period that really seem almost eerie now.
Even farther back, 49.
49, okay. Yeah, I'm telling you, 40s and 50s were very much a golden age for fiction in general. Who's doing that work now of looking forward and figuring out how things could go and explaining it? Who's doing that?
Seems like the biggest name we've got is the Chinese author that wrote the 3-body problem.
Yeah, that's about as close as you can get. Everything else is derivative labubu nonsense. That's my new word. I'm just going to start using that word.
Mike and Tupelo on the C Spire text line said labubu is a small mistake in France.
Thank you, and that's the show. No, it's not really, but it should be. We should end on that note. We will continue, though, right after this on Super Talk in the Element Wealth Studios on Middays. Keep it here.
From the SuperTalk.fm. Gerard Gibert.
Here we go. This is huge news. Huge news. You need to listen to this.
Middays with Gerard. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Welcome back, Super Talk, Mississippi. Dave Hughes in the Element Wealth Studios for Middays on this Tuesday. I had a statement issued today, news release. Katie Blount, the executive director of the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, is retiring. Now, it's not immediate. Got a little under a year left. Her retirement becomes official June 30th of next year, 2026. She, of course, has been there and stewarded the department through the formation of the 2 Mississippi museums. A fantastic facility. We broadcast from there before. And she is a fantastic story to me because she started with the Department of Archives and History back in the 90s. And she was the public relations coordinator and worked her way up to running the entire thing. And she has announced that she is stepping down next year. So now the search begins, and the thinking, trying to figure out who is going to replace her in that position. And she's leaving some big shoes to fill, Rhino. She's done a fantastic job over there, I think.
Oh, yeah.
She really has. If you haven't visited the 2 Mississippi museums, do it. Do it. You'll be glad you did. This whole conversation that we're having leads me back to not thinking forward. We have this to me is almost the same kind of problem, which we have talked about multiple times. I've got a new example of it, though, of instead of looking forward and not even looking to the past and living there, but looking off into some alternate reality and trying to base our reality on that. Let me explain what I'm talking about. You had a bunch of black community leaders in Cincinnati. You know the story a few weeks ago of the white couple who were jumped on and beaten by several people. Well, these community leaders held a press conference. They are demanding that the victims in that attack be charged criminally. And one of the reasons they gave is, and I quote, "The white guy incited 6 felonies." What? They're saying the quiet part out loud again, buddy. Let's blame the victim. The victim is the problem here. The white guy, that's a direct quote. The white guy incited 6 felonies. He should be charged. The ultimate expression of, he made me do it. This is what I'm talking about. Forget looking forward, not even looking back. We're looking off to the left somewhere out in the middle of the field and going, yeah, that's where we live, right there. How do we stop this? How do we stop this complete twisting of reality to the extent to where we want to charge the victims of a beating because, well, they made me do it? How do we end that?
Well, one step in the right direction would be to stop electing people like Chuck Schumer. You saw Oliver's takedown of his imaginary friends over the weekend.
Yes. And unfortunately, how do I put this? We talked yesterday, and I mentioned it earlier today, about the group of age-rich, years-rich people who locked themselves in a makeshift cage in a median to protest the Alligator Alcatraz facility. We have an entire generation that will not go home. We have an entire generation that refuses to give up any amount of power or control that they may feel they have. Chuck Schumer is a great example of that. A big chunk of Congress is a big example of that. Heck, he's doing a good job. President Trump's 79. Until they voluntarily go, they just keep getting reelected. How many times has Chuck Schumer been reelected? Using him as the example. And I don't know that it's so much because of what he's done, but just the fact that he's familiar. He's been there this whole time.
He's in his 5th term as senator.
So that's 30 years. I saw a clip, an old Letterman clip on YouTube where Letterman was doing a top 10 list, and his top 10 list was things you'll never hear a United States senator say, and he had 10 senators that one at a time had recorded their line, their joke. And Chuck Schumer was one of them. That was a clip from the 90s. He was already graying a little bit. Senator Joe Biden was another one in that list, by the way. Nancy Pelosi was there, a whole 9 yards. And I got to thinking, and I was watching it, and the only people that were featured in that aren't still in the Senate are no longer with us. Everybody else is still there. You cannot expect a change in anything until you change leadership. And we're notoriously bad at doing that. Schumer, Pelosi, all of them. It's really amazing that we got kind of lucky in a way that President Biden had such a ridiculously public flame out and proved what everyone had been saying and everyone already knew, but you couldn't ignore it anymore. And then they floated Cackles McGee out there in a desperate last-ditch attempt to get there.
You've seen the media's latest effort to not bring attention to their failures in the Biden cognitive decline category.
No.
They claim that they didn't have any sources that would talk to them about it.
Yes, that's it. Because if there's one thing the media has not been doing for quite a while now is reporting unsubstantiated rumors as fact. Speculation as the real deal. That's kind of how they make their money now, isn't it?
And therein lies the rub for why so many people in the older generation seem to be just so wrong when it comes to their perception of reality. Because they're trusting the talking heads on mainstream media the same way they trusted Walter Cronkite.
Well, that relates to something I've talked about before. You see the people getting caught up by these scammers, and there are plenty of them, of all ages, but it's proportionally the majority of them are of the older generations. That happens because from birth, that generation was trained. If you see it written down, it's the truth. We don't argue with the textbook. The textbook is always right. You read it in the paper, it's the truth. You see it on TV, it's the truth. The world changed, but that training stayed behind, including up down to my generation even. And as a result, they're kind of having their way right now. It's a unique point in history because in another 20 years, it's going to be a different crop of individuals who are a lot more savvy about what is the actual truth and what isn't. But right now we're in that weird in-between period between the transition from one to the other. And we have a lot of people that will basically believe anything they're told. That's why it's so dangerous that the mainstream media is lockstep, continuously putting out a bunch of garbage. Slanted garbage. Always slanted in one direction. That's why it's so dangerous. That's why it's such a problem. In another 20, 30 years, it won't be a problem because, well, they'll get laughed at if they try it. But we're not going to see a resurgence of the Walter Cronkite type. There is no going back. All we can do is try to figure out a way to beat through the underbrush to a new situation, a new reality. And along the way, we will probably make an occasional le-boo-boo. That's now in my vocabulary. With that definition, it's a tiny French mistake. Le boo-boo. That was a good one, Mike. Thank you. Appreciate that. Final segment coming up. on this Tuesday. I almost said Friday. Boy, that's wishful thinking, isn't it? Final segment on this Tuesday morning in the Element Well studios on Middays on the way next. Keep it here.
At Fillmore Buick GMC. Gerard Gibert. Going beyond the headlines. Breaking down the stories that matter to Mississippi. Middays with Gerard on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Some people call me the space cowboy. Yeah. Some call me the gangster of love. Some people call me Maurice. 'Cause I speak of the pompatus of love.
No one ever called that man Maurice once in his life.
People talk about me, baby.
Just making stuff up.
Say I'm doing you wrong.
It's okay. Welcome back. Super Talk. Mississippi, the Element Well Studios, Middays. Dave Hughes here. Okay. Got a story I just want to... It ties into some of the things we've been talking about, as things tend to do. There is a new study out. And you tell me, Rhino, is this going to end well? Okay? There is a new study out. German researchers have discovered that older people's skin can be rejuvenated using the blood of young people. I saw that movie too, read that book, but this is where we're at. Where do you think they got that idea? There are negatives to the inspirations from the past as well. But this is a real thing. They found out that blood itself wouldn't do it, but when they combined it with bone marrow cells, it reversed aging signs in skin. But it had to be blood from someone below the age of 30 before it had any effect. So,
could be a way to balance out the quote-unquote wealth inequality between the generations.
It's going to balance out a lot of things, I'm afraid, if this takes off. Absolutely ridiculous. Sorry, I'm just saddened by where we're at, I guess is the best way to put it. Did you see the guy who is all upset, plays NBA 2K25, spent $32,000 on microtransactions in the game? Buying the cards, the digital cards that you get in the game. And after $32,000 spent, he still doesn't have them all. Because it goes back to the Labubus. It's a random chance when you buy an in-game pack of these cards as to what you get inside. He got a whole bunch of duplicates of things he already had, did not get the complete set after spending $32,000. This leads me to a very important point. Some people are just stupid. We need to admit that. We need to deal with it because it's a reality. Some people are just dumb. Because, I'm sorry, this is dumb. To his credit, he's now coming out after he came down off of the gambling high of doing that. And he is saying, man, I was so stupid. Why did I do this? I'm so dumb. Quick, when I say, and this is for everyone, dumbest person you know, a face just popped in your mind, didn't it? You know who I'm talking about. I don't, but it doesn't matter. You know who I'm talking about. And we have lost the ability a little bit. We're getting it back some now, but we've lost the ability a little bit to call stupid, stupid. Because we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. The 3 laws of humans, feelings are law number 2 or law number 3. They're not the overriding concern, but we try to treat them like that these days, and that's a behavior we definitely have to change at some point. They're talking about the Doge staffer who got attacked. Edward Korestein is his name, by the way, Rhino, as opposed to his online nickname. They are talking about giving him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Caroline Leavitt said it in a press conference today. I mean, it was in response to a question from Benny Johnson, but he asked and she answered. Leavitt also said, in response to a question, that the homeless people in D.C., if they're given opportunities and they don't take them, they're going to jail, possibly. Bad problems sometimes require strong solutions. That's where we're at. Have a wonderful day. We'll do this again tomorrow morning at 10:06. Here on Middays in the Element Well Studios, my friend. I'll see you then.
A SuperTalk Mississippi media production.